In news this week, Catholic majority Ireland says yes to same-sex marriage. Jamie Oliver's food revolution. And rodeo religion reaches hundreds.
This is InFocus Christian News and Current Affairs.
Hello. Well, they say there are no atheists in foxholes, but what about when you're facing constant danger at 300 k's per hour on the racetrack? Well, today on Record in Focus, we're going to meet Andrew Fishtail Fisher, a racing driver who says he races for Jesus. James Standish will be in for our Freedom in Focus segment, and we'll also be chatting with our family life educator, Trafford Fisher, about money. What do you think, Sibel? How much money would you need to be happy?
Well, how much money is there, Kent? No, seriously, what makes me happy is spending time on the things that I like doing.
Yeah, fair enough.
But what would make me happy right now is if we could get on with the news. It's a big bulletin today.
Well, take it away, Sibel.
A referendum in the strongly Roman Catholic Republic of Ireland has produced a clear result in favour of extending marriage to same-sex couples. Reuters reports that the Catholic Church was muted in its public statements on the issue. But according to the US-based National Organization for Marriage, other groups advocating for a traditional definition of marriage to remain faced intense harassment in the lead-up to the referendum. Meanwhile, the gay rights agenda is moving forward elsewhere in Europe. The Church of Scotland has voted to allow ministers in same-sex civil partnerships to be ordained, and France's largest Protestant church will now permit its ministers to conduct same-sex weddings. In Australia, the Catholic Church is under renewed pressure as horrific allegations emerge of widespread child abuse at a church school in Ballarat, Victoria. The Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Abuse heard claims that every male teacher at a school was involved in sexually abusing children during the 1970s. Abuse that has been linked to ongoing mental health problems and a series of suicides. According to the ABC, some witnesses say the activities of notorious pedophile priest Gerald Ridsdale were an open secret in Ballarat. But rather than reporting the abuse to police, church leaders moved him to new locations several times, where he continued to offend. Calls are being made for Cardinal George Pell to return to Australia from the Vatican to answer claims that he tried to buy the silence of one abuse survivor, an allegation he denies. Tasmania is set to introduce new legislation that will allow faith-based schools to discriminate in favour of students from families who share the school's religious identity. According to The Mercury, the state government says they're falling into line with legislation operating in other Australian states. But critics say that when a school receives government funding, it should be required to accept students from all religious and non-religious backgrounds. The Seventh-day Adventist Church, which operates one of Australia's largest Protestant school systems, says student selection is part of ensuring the unique character of its schools.
We're open to be inclusive of anyone who comes along. However, we do recognise the right or the need for faith-based schools to actually be able to protect their special character.
And still on school issues, celebrity chef Jamie Oliver has launched a worldwide petition for healthy nutrition education that now has more than 1.5 million signatures.
Half the world is starving with too little to eat, and the other half die from being obese. If you haven't got a clue about the mess that we're in, the answer lies here in the words that we sing. Revolution.
Feed the kids right through their stomach and mind.
Jamie Oliver has pointed to successful programs in the UK, Mexico, Japan and elsewhere, and says his initial goal is to get all G20 nations to commit to making practical food education a compulsory part of their schools' curriculums. Health experts from the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which has a tradition of emphasising holistic health, say they're sympathetic to the aims of Food Revolution Day.
Health needs to start with younger people. The younger we can start, the more the benefits will show up as they age. The Adventist Church, or Adventist Schools Australia, is actually in the process of developing a curriculum for primary school students as well, very much along the line of Jamie Oliver's emphasis.
The biblical discipline of fasting has become less common in many church communities, but new research suggests that we could be missing out on some surprising health benefits. According to Newswise, a study by the San Diego School of Medicine found that women who left a longer gap between dinner and breakfast had reduced blood glucose levels. Regardless of how much the women in the study ate, the researchers found that those whose overnight fast was 3 hours longer had 4% lower blood sugar. Researchers say maintaining more stable blood glucose levels may reduce the risk of breast cancer, a simple strategy that could be used together with the usual cancer-avoiding dietary advice to limit alcohol, red meat and refined grains, and increase plant-based foods. According to the old adage, my enemy's enemy is my friend, and that certainly appears to be the case in Lebanon, where Christians are being trained to fight ISIS by militant Shia group Hezbollah. Hezbollah is regarded as a terrorist organisation by both Australia and the United States and receives support from Iran. But according to Christian Post, Lebanese Catholics say the only group protecting them against the threat of Islamic State is Hezbollah, and that they're happy to join with them in fighting for their survival. The Weet-Bix Kids Triathlon Series has wrapped up for the year with more than 35,000 enthusiastic runners, cyclists and swimmers giving it their best shot. Over the last 6 months, kids' triathlon events were held at 12 locations around Australia and 14 locations around New Zealand, making it the world's largest triathlon series. The aim is to get kids involved in healthy activities, to connect with their communities and to feel a sense of achievement, no matter what their athletic ability.
So we're here at the Weet-Bix Kids Triathlon on the Central Coast, and there's kids everywhere, and it's an amazing atmosphere. So
it is really great to see all the kids trying really hard, and everyone's giving each other high fives and everyone's supporting each other. It's pretty cool.
The Weet-Bix Kids Triathlon events are coordinated by Sanitarium Health and Wellbeing, which is owned and operated by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. How far would you go to attract your friends and neighbours to church? Well, for Ohio pastor Lawrence Bishop Jr., his commitment extends to taking on a wild bucking bull by the name of Bone Crusher.
Lasts about 3. Everyone in the house is saying their prayers at this point. Finally, battered and bruised, the cowboy preacher climbs back up to safety.
According to America's ABC network, Pastor Bishop says that while the servants in Jesus' parable were told to compel people to come in, they weren't told how to compel them, so he'll use any means at his disposal. Despite suffering cuts and bruises from his encounter with Bone Crusher, Pastor Bishop went on to deliver his sermon and altar call, during which 300 people committed to following Christ. And that's the week's news. What do you think, Kent? Time to do a little bull riding on InFocus?
Oh, well, look, since you offer, I could probably organise something.
No, not me.
Hey, stay with us. James Standish is in right after the break with his Religious Freedom segment. And later in the program, it's Family in Focus and Motor Racing for Jesus. No bull.
Signs of the Times, a magazine for a world on the brink. And this month in Signs, is there really a place reserved to burn sinners for eternity? Why your morning ritual may be negatively impacting your health. There are Facebook friends and then there are real-life friends. How the Magna Carta, signed 800 years ago, shaped our world today. All in this month's Signs of the Times. Subscribe to Signs today and change your life.
Hello, welcome back. Well, just a little while back, Conservative columnist Andrew Bolt wrote a very inflammatory, which is his one, I guess, article in the Sun Herald on how Christian churches have gone a bit quiet on the issue of Christian persecution in places like the Middle East. Here to help us untangle this mess is our religious freedom consultant, James Standish. How are you, James?
Who also writes inflammatory articles.
No, yes, okay.
It's great to be back.
Yep. Did Andrew Bolt make a fair point?
I think Andrew Bolt brought up an important point. Whether his article was fair or not, probably not, and I'll tell you why. He makes the argument that churches are more interested these days in disinvestment of Israel in retaliation for treatment of Palestinians,
refugee issues,
right? And all these different groups, and not cared about, and we don't care about Christians who are being persecuted. That's not entirely fair. It's not entirely fair because, of course, the church is a very big organization and very diverse. Many parts of the church have been very, very strong on the Christian persecution in particularly North Africa, the Middle East, the terrible things that we're seeing, whether it's the abduction of Christian girls, the killing of Christian students in Kenya, the ethnic cleansing against Christians in Iraq. This is all happening, and people are speaking up about it. You and I are speaking up about it, Ken.
Sure, we are. Andrew Bolt nominated a series of Christian groups, and I think it would be fair to say they're probably on the sort of liberal side of the spectrum.
Right.
Is it a fair thing to say that somehow the issue of Christian persecution has become a conservative issue?
Well, I think in some people's minds it has. And
how is that? Because I don't get that, James.
Sure. Well, because on the far left, there is a suspicion or animosity towards religion, and there always has been. I mean, you know, if you go to the far left, and in some ways that has seeped in even to the more liberal denominations, who sometimes view particularly proselytism, sharing the gospel, as innately suspicious activity. So yes, is there some of that? But I don't think it's fair to say that characterizes large denominations, first. And secondly, just because people are talking about issue A and focusing on that doesn't mean that they have animosity to issue B. But Christian persecution is something that all Christians should be involved in, because we are living through one of the most difficult times for the Christian church in the history of the Christian church. It just happens not to be happening in our neighborhood. But surely as Christians, we should care about what's happening to our brothers and sisters in Nigeria or Iraq or in China.
So, but what should we be doing? I mean, are statements from archbishops, you know, going to move Islamic State out of Syria and out of Iraq?
Well, that's one of the big problems. What do you do in a place like Iraq? Statements, sit-ins, songfests, whatever it is, it's not going to make a difference. The only thing that's going to make a difference there is force. Most of us are a little bit uncomfortable saying, let's get troops back into Iraq.
Particularly churches.
Well, exactly. So that's the first problem that we have. But one solution that we do have is people are leaving Iraq in droves, Christians and the Middle East. Where are they going? Well, those of us who live in Christian countries, majority Christian countries, why can't we open our doors to these men and women who are leaving, these families, and say, come here, because you know what? We can provide you a safe haven. My family first came to Australia as Christian and Protestant refugees. I'd love to see us opening the door to other Christians.
And why is that a left-wing issue? Hey, thanks so much, James, for your time today.
It's a pleasure.
We'll go straight away now to Family in Focus.
Planning your future can be a daunting task. What you want to do, who you want to be, and the road ahead can often be unpredictable. No one really knows what the future holds. Avondale. It's education designed for life.
Well, as the song goes, money, money, money. Help me out, Trafford.
Must be funny in a rich man's world.
And we'd know all about that, of course, wouldn't we?
Yes.
But
yes,
money, Trafford.
It's a key issue.
Research consistently shows that one of the top 3 stresses in a marriage or an intimate relationship is money. Am I right or am I right?
You're right. You're spot on. And I think one of the reasons why is we are a society that requires money. In everything we do, we buy our food, our clothes, petrol, school fees, school uniform, everything about we do requires money, whether it's the form's different, whether it's cash or card, but we need the money. So inevitably, I think it's an issue that is alive, it's always there.
Or it's not there.
Yeah, well, it's not there. Interestingly enough, if a couple may not have a lot of money, they can still be very, very happy. because both of them share a concept of what that money means. They say, hey, we don't have a lot of money, but we're wealthy people, we have our health, we have each other, we have our kids, you know. Then, seriously, I was reading just recently of 2 multi-millionaires, as in husband and wife, both multi-millionaires, they were constantly arguing over money.
Wow.
And he had this, you know, he would say to you, you're spending too much. Well, she could never spend all the money. So the meaning of money seems to suggest to us, you know, Kent, that, you know, I need to have, and it's about control. One of the issues is control. I have all this, so I've got to control my partner to make sure that I feel comfortable and feel safe. So I'm going to control my partner. So there's a control issue, I think, that's very real.
So what are the tips to, I mean, let's say a husband and wife see money management differently. Well,
you've got the saver and you've got the spender in broad terms. I'm always spending, I'm always saving. So I think one accept that difference. You know, recognise that because of my personal family journey, I happen to grow up in a family that had lots of money. I'm used to spending. I just come to the world to spend, you know.
My wife sends me out to the grocery shopping because I actually stick to the list and come back under budget.
What a man. What a man. I would send her
she sees things that she didn't realise she needed when she's there.
So let's accept that difference. Let's say, okay, let's not pay each other out over this. This is who we are. But then we need to say, okay, because my key question, Ken, is what's this doing for the relationship? Because this could affect intimacy, this affects our love and care. So we're to take care of the intimacy, ask what's driving me, why am I so intent on causing pain over money? I have to ask the real questions, but I have to keep saying, my relationship is more important than my money.
Oh, it's a
take your relationship.
People are more important than things. I mean, it's something you try to drum into your kids. You know?
True.
Share your toys.
Yeah, we need to keep that out in front of this.
Wow.
Otherwise we get lost.
Yeah, well, it's a big issue, but thanks for those few tips, Trafford. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ken.
Stay with us. We'll be back straight after the break.
Unearth ancient civilizations with archaeological diggings. This bi-monthly magazine will keep you up to date with news and insights from the fascinating world of archaeology. Subscribe online or ask for archaeological diggings at your newsagent.
To the right, Ryan Hansford and Ryle Harris in the second row of the grid.
On the final lap, Harris and Fisher were locked in a dogged fight for the lead, with neither willing to give an inch.
Fisher will sweep to the inside. He'll get this done. Fisher's in the mirror. He knows Harris is coming. He needs to cover the inside, and he's on it. He's done exactly what he needs to do, and he's done what Harris knew he'd do. He will bring it off the final turn. Andrew Fisher on debut with the FG.
Andrew, what a way to start the season.
Yeah, look, it's fantastic. In the new car, the team's put such a great effort into it, all the boys, and to come in with a win was just a great result.
Wow, incredible footage, and it's great to have you here with us, Andrew Fisher.
Great to be here again.
It looks like hard work, mate.
It is hard work in there, that's right, yeah. It gets very hot inside the race cars. A lot of people don't understand that, we operate in, 50 to 60 degree temperatures, so, look, you need to have excellent fitness, aerobic fitness in particular, to race cars.
Aerobic, as in you're panting, you're puffing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're actively inside the car all the time. You're not just sort of sitting there, like you're on, sort of in traffic, you're going to work in the morning, that sort of stuff.
You don't have cruise control?
Don't have cruise control, no, that's right. So we're on the pedals, we dance on the pedals. We actually steer a car with the pedals, believe it or not. So the actual brake pedal actually helps you to steer a car, and so that's about how you change the balance of a car and get the pitch angle and get the rotation through the steering wheel, and the brake, the accelerator. We use both of those at different times in turning through a corner in order to actually get the car rotated and get the speed out of the car.
This is the excuse he uses because, of course, they call you Fishtail Fisher.
That's right. A little bit heavy on my right leg sometimes. Exactly right. Very good.
Yeah, I know I took a hot lap with you around Eastern Creek, and during that session a couple of times the announcer came over, hey, car number, Jesus Racing Vehicle needs to slow down a bit on the with the drifting around the corners there.
Yeah, they do, and that's I always use the excuse that we need to sort of show the people that part of our whole program is breaking down people's paradigms in terms of who they think Christians would be or what they think Christians would be like, and so letting the rear end hang out through a corner at doing 200 kilometres an hour is a great way for us to be able to do that.
Oh, so it's the witness for Jesus.
Correct. It's all about that. Nothing about me or the enjoyment.
Wow, that's incredible. How does that work? Like, Jesus racing, for some people that's just an oxymoron.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
You've been making it work for what? How many years now?
Yeah, we started Jesus Racing in 2000. 2007. So yeah, it's been going now for over 8 years. And look, it was really just an idea about me challenging people's paradigms in terms of their perception of a Christian, the person of Jesus, the Christian faith, the church, because you don't expect someone who sort of races, I guess, in what's the most robust, I must say, racing category, the V8 Utes, which is where you get all the argy-bargy, you get sort of people banging in mirrors off and that sort of stuff, and and so you don't expect someone who's competing in that sort of level and winning and competing at the front to be a Christian. And so so that was the idea, and it's obviously worked. We've created a great reputation, a great following across Australia and internationally as well. Got a lot of supporters across the globe for what we do, and but we've been able to obviously the racing's really just the platform, if you like. It's the conversation starter. The whole idea of it was to actually be able to get people to be able to start the conversation. Imagine having a race car with Jesus on it. Imagine that happening as part of Australian V8 Ute racing, even V8 supercars, the premier level of Australian racing. We've had a car with Jesus in the main game, V8 supercars, Bathurst 1000, and so imagine that. Then that starts the conversation, and really Jesus racing is obviously about the off-track sort of ministry, not the on-track racing. But without the racing, then we don't have the platform to go and do the work we do in the schools and the jails and the other areas that we go into.
Does your branding actually, produce discussion? Yeah,
it's produced amazing discussion in terms of, and not just personal, but as a corporate kind of thing, I guess. So because the commentators now, when we first started, they kind of, the car would come on and they'd kind of stutter and stumble and not know what to say type thing. And now they're very vocal in the fact, it's the Jesus racing team, and the Life Choices program, which is our high schools program, gets spoken about, in great detail during the commentary. And like we provide them press releases, give them a lot of information about what we do, why we do it, the purpose behind Jesus racing, and so it's about being intentional, isn't it? And that's what our program is. I mean, when I go and speak to high school students, I tell them, you can make choices. You've got choices to make in life. I can't tell you what to do or not to do, but the one thing I can tell you is you can't be passive, and that's the important thing. I think too many people these days are just passively driving along like they're in the peak hour traffic, not kind of looking what's happening in front of them. Just one car in front of them, not looking beyond that, and I think that's a little bit like life as well. And so, if we can, by our branding and positioning that we've got, and I guess the engagement that we get from that, can go in and challenge people in terms of not living lives that are just passive, to actually stop and think through the consequences of important decisions in life, well, then we're doing our job.
And is there a personal story like for you about that? I mean, you're
Sure.
a petrol head, sort of a knockabout bloke. Was there a time when you perhaps could have gone off the rails yourself with your own?
Look, I think that's a great question. I think growing up, I've always been a robust person. You wouldn't do what I'm doing if you weren't. I describe myself as more of a Peter than a John. I'm sort of not the guy that would have been reclining next to Jesus. I'm the guy that got the sword out and would have cut the ear off. And so that's more my character, I guess, in a lot of ways. And I think for me it really is a case of getting out there and engaging. Makes me quite tangible in the marketplace because people know that I'm a real live bloke, and I make life decisions and that sort of stuff. And as part of the Life Choices program, I do talk about my daughter's condition. My daughter was born with a condition called hyperplastic left heart. So she's got no left-hand ventricle basically, and so that was life-threatening. And we were actually told by the doctors we should let her die when she was born, and to have another one, and hopefully the next one would be healthy. And I think for us, that brings you a sense of purpose in life. And through those tough times, I guess your faith is challenged as well. And it's been a great opportunity to talk through the decision making we made through that time in relationship to our family, to be able to share that with the students and give them a personal insight to a bloke that they kind of see as kind of semi-famous. He's a racing car driver and there to talk about racing cars, and then all of a sudden we're talking about his critically ill daughter and the journey that we've had to take with her is a great connection point for particularly for girls, because it's a story about girls, but also for the guys as well.
Now you've launched a prison ministry now too. You're going into those prisons.
Yeah.
Is it same sort of stuff, talking about choices and things like that?
To a degree. I guess, you know, I'm a great believer in the whole notion of legacy when it comes particularly to adulthood and particularly men. It's like, well, what's the legacy you're going to leave behind? And, you know, when it comes to guys in prison, you know, the past is the past. There's no point looking backwards, right? There's no point seeing in the revision mirror and sort of thinking, well, I wish this had been different. I wish that had been different. And so my challenge for them is all about this whole notion of, you know, what's your legacy going to be? And the fact that we get to choose and determine our own legacy. And it's really just challenging them to actually stop and think about that. And so, and I give them some real life examples of people that have actually changed, people that have chosen their legacy and decided to change who they were, I guess, and who they hung out with and how they were perceived because they wanted to leave a different legacy than the one that they had created up until that point in time. And so then I, you know, it's a wonderful opportunity. I get to talk to them about, you know, the legacy that Jesus actually left behind and the fact that in order for him to leave the legacy that he came to give, you know, Jesus said, I came to give life and life abundantly, or life to the full. But in order for him to give that legacy, he actually had to allow them to kill him. A significant thing. I don't suggest that.
Hard choices.
A hard choice. Yeah, I don't actually suggest that to the guys. That's not a great legacy to sort of, you know, that's not going to be my sort of, you know, focal point in life. But, you know, just an understanding of the fact that, you know, Jesus, you know, wanted to leave a legacy behind, and he wanted to leave his spirit to live within us. And in order for him to do that, he had to allow himself to be crucified, obviously, and then allow God, you know, have the faith in his Father to actually raise him from the dead, and then to be able to, the Holy Spirit to be able to be a part of us. And you know, the Holy Spirit, I explained to him, is like a competitive advantage. It's like the Spirit of God living within us. And so if you want to change, and change is hard, change is a very, very difficult thing to go through in life. You know, I'm a change agent. That's what I've done through my corporate career, and I guess what I do in terms of people's paradigms, I kind of find change a lot simpler than a lot of other people. Change is very difficult, and so in order to be able to give someone, particularly in prison like that, the hope that there's something that could help them with that change is a great thing, because if they don't change, well, the statistics say they're going to come back. You know, even though they get let out of the big house, they're going to go back to the same culture, the same people, the same sort of environment that they came from, with the same attitudes they came from. They're going to end up back in the big house again.
Unless you make some different choices and put some changes into place.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, thanks so much for coming in to share with us, you know, about your ministry, and all the best with that, and all the best with the racing season. It's been a bit shaky so far, I understand, but let's hope to see you at the podium, if not this year, then next year, eh?
Yeah, we'll get back on the podium this year. There's no doubt about it. We've got great race pace. You know, the car racing is going really well. We just had a couple of little issues with the car. We're running our own race team now, which is a big change for us, and so now it's just a case of getting our heads around that. And yeah, we're improving round by round by round. We're getting further up the front, and we'll be back on the podium with real soon.
Excellent.
Cheers.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks.
We'll see you straight after the break.
Planning your future can be a daunting task. What you want to do, who you want to be, and the road ahead can often be unpredictable. No one really knows what the future holds. That's just part of what makes it all so amazing. And that's why a great education matters. Because it doesn't just help you get a great job, it helps you prepare for what life can throw at you and live a great life. Avondale. It's education designed for life.
Hello, well, that's it from us for this week.
Don't forget to stay in touch, and remember that all our videos are available at our website, record.net.au.
Check it out. We'll see you next time on Record in Focus.
God bless.
Bye.